Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to our last annual business meeting of the year. So we were just talking about a property that one of my clients just got on the contract. So let me share that real quick, and then we will also be doing a blast. I'm checking to see if he's coming on, but here it is. So this is in Longfellow, for 400,000. I believe he's going to put about $250,000 into rehabbing it, and then it is going to be a 6-4. I believe it's going to be 6 bedroom, 4 bath. And I know that Jonathan, I'll be talking to him about that later. So because it's a 6 bedroom, 4 bath in DC, Section 8 rental, you do very well with a 6 bedroom, 4 bath in DC. Okay. Um, so like I said, if you have money to invest or you are looking for properties to invest, looking for partners, feel free to let us know and we'll review it and then we'll do a blast. Okay. All right, so I see Anthony is on here today. Anthony, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um,
Hi.
Hi, we might go ahead and take you first because we do have other guests that are coming on. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world? I know that there's something with annuities and all that. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how annuities can work for those that are in retirement.
Yes, yes. We have two types of annuities. One is called a shield, whereby you have to, commit your money for six years or 3 years. And what it is, you think of bonds. Most people tend to get into bonds because they want safety. They want to make sure that their money have some sort of level of safety, no volatility, low volatility, and but they also want the growth. So you will think of stocks. Well, with a shield program, they call it RILAs, uh, registered index life index annuities, RILAs. And what it is, they have created a hybrid where you get the upside, say like a S&P 500, because that's what they track. They track the S&P 500, which is what you see on on Bloomberg and Yahoo Financial, where your portfolio tracks that, but also you have some downside protection. So if let's say you have a shield of 15% and say the market falls at the end of 6 years, the market falls, say 10%. Everybody in the market who are invested will lose, will be down by 10%. Well, because you have a shield of 15, the company absorb that loss. So they will give you back your principal. Whereas if the S&P goes up, say 100%, 200%, you will get all of that, upside. So and there is no fee to get into a plan like that and no fee to actually get out, and it's a very, very unique program. It's like having your cake and eat it at the same time. Most people want to invest, but they're afraid of risk. And this provides some level of downside protection, but give people a lot of upside. For most of my clients that I've put into the plan, I personally have it. I put in like about say $49,000 about 2 years ago. The money's already doubled. I have a client who gave me $700,000 in to put into the plan. That was like about 3.5 years ago. Her money is at 1.4 million. So the S&P 500, as many of you would know, is the major index that everybody's trying to beat. All the portfolio managers are trying to beat. And so if you have a tracker, if your portfolio is tracking that, your money will actually move up. You have now the variable annuity. This also gives you a protection against the downside of the market. It is I consider it to be like a personalized pension, whereby if let's say you had say 200,000, the company right now, and if you're age 65, you can get a 9% payout for life, right? And that means that even if you put in 200,000 and say you live like 25 years and all the money that you have used, all the money that you have put in have been used over that period of time because you're drawing down the money. What happened is since the company says that you'll have a guaranteed income for life, the company is going to still give you a check even if you run out of money. Most people are concerned about the longevity, your risk, which is running out of money when you retire. And for a lot of our clients, this is really a good complement with Social Security benefits coming in, along with a personalized check from like a pension check, like from the annuity that has sustained their retirement for a very long time. So most of my clients, I couple that with their Social Security as well as provide another form of income generating portfolio like an income fund where that can be looked at as money that they can use now. But in terms of their annuity, like the variable annuity, along with Social Security, that pays for their living expenses. And they have been able to have a good retirement because most of the people who actually retire, especially people without a lot of money. If they retire and they have their money in an IRA that they're drawing down, they're going to run out of money simply because with the market going up and down and the withdrawal rate, that's going to run them to zero very quickly. So having a small portion of your money into an annuity plan, can actually help you in retirement. And with the Shield, I look at it as a booster to actually, in a short period of time, double the money that the person put in the investment, and then use that for the variable annuity to give them a bigger paycheck at the time when they're ready to retire. So it has worked very well, for my clients.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you, thank you, thank you. So, does anybody have any questions? Here is what I'm planning to do because you guys know I like getting into the weeds of calculation. I
Mm-hmm.
am actually going to pull a Social Security report and look at a sample contributions that people have made to Social Security over the years,
Mm-hmm.
how much they're getting at retirement because they're going to get it for life, and then look at how long it takes for them to recover the investment that they made. And then look at the annuity with the shield that Anthony is talking about. Look at the kind of returns that you'll get from the annuity. Do that comparison, and then I'm going to send out that report as
Mm-hmm.
well so that everybody can see. Because for me, the devil is in the details in the science
Mm-hmm.
of it. But it sounds like what Anthony is talking about is like a substitute, a supplement to Social Security. I know last week somebody was asking, hey, do we know if Social Security is going to run out? We don't know. But we necessarily shouldn't worry about whether Social Security is going to run out or not if we do have alternatives to having other sources of income should that happen. So I am going to start doing that analysis. I think it's going to be pretty interesting, and I will let you guys know what I find out. Does anybody
Yeah.
have okay, so there's a question, what are the fees for the shield and how is it paid for?
Yeah, this is a very good question. With the Shield program, there are no fees going in and no fees coming out. And that's what's so great about the program. But the only thing is you have to leave the money in. And it's not like you're locked in. You have to leave the money in for 6 years. You have to marry the program for 6 years. And after that, it's you will be fine. But if let's say you were to take the money out, there are surrender charges, that you'll pay. With annuities come surrender periods. Like for this, it'll be a 6 year period that your money will be in for that time, but it's worth it. I mean, maybe when you're having something like that again, I could actually show some numbers, but I know we are pressed for time. But it shows that, with that plan, it has helped my clients very, very tremendously. And not only that, but I'm using it for myself, my wife, and for a lot of my clients to give them that extra boost, to get that money that they need for retirement. But there are no fees to come in to get into the plan and no fees to come
Is
out.
there a minimum? That would be the last
Yeah,
question.
that's good. The minimum is and you have to be at the age of 45, okay? And the minimum is 25,000.
Okay.
Okay. For the variable annuity, the minimum is 50,000 and you have to be of the age of 50 years old. Okay. So because these are like the variable annuity is long term, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And just a comment, to what you were saying about Social Security. I just saw something like a report, and it was saying that, by 2032, the government will only be able to cover Social Security, 78% of whatever you're getting right now. So if let's say you were getting $2,000 right now, they are looking to reduce it to 1540 because by 2035, it is projected that Social Security will be running out of money and it's becoming a major problem. Not many people are putting into the plan. A lot of people are not working and AI is coming. So think of the plan not getting the funds that they need to actually give out to people who are retired. So they have to make some changes, whether they lengthen the time, the period that you retire at, or you're going to get a reduction in your benefits. Yeah.
So what we can do is, if you're interested in discussing this more, we can set up a separate meeting just for it. So you can either send me an email or post in the chat. Nicole, can you help me track whoever posts in the chat if
Mhm.
they want to talk more about this? And then we'll just set up a separate meeting. And
Yeah.
then that meeting would be after I've done my analysis. I have the documents from Anthony,
Mhm.
and then I'm also going to do my research and run the
Sure.
numbers. And then we
And
can come back and just have a full
yeah.
meeting when we can talk about it.
And I will send out brochures and so on so people can do a preview
Okay.
beforehand. And then I will come and I'll do a quick presentation and answer all kind of questions that they have. But truly, the annuity program through Bright House Financial, Bright House used to be part of, well, they're actually a subsidiary of MetLife.
Mm-hmm.
But MetLife, everybody knows, they have deep pockets and they're one of the better companies for annuities in the space. We work with all the various companies like Corbridge, Lincoln, but
Mm-hmm.
Bright House, after analyzing, the industry, Bright House has the better plan. They are like the trendsetter, you
Thank
know.
you. Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you.
But thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
And Francine, about the tax implications, you are taxed on the income. So any money that you take out of the annuity plan, just like your Social Security, you will be paying taxes on it. So that's also part of the analysis that I'm
Mhm.
going to do. Like I'm going to line it up against the Social Security.
Correct.
So we'll do the Social Security, then the Shield one, and then the Flex one, and then
Correct.
do that comparison
Mhm.
on that. Okay, so Nicole will write down the names of those that are interested. If we have enough people, then we will come back and do another meeting just for that. All
Thanks.
right, moving on, moving on. Thank you, thank you,
Thanks.
thank you. The next person that we have that is coming on, um, he needs no introduction, but since he's what do you call it? He's doing big things now. So let me do his official introduction. So hold on.
Welcome to Capital Living. I'm Jonathan Rundlet, coming to you from Washington, D.C., in the heart of one of the most influential regions in the country. On this show, we'll highlight lifestyle, culture, and events that make life in the DMV so special, and we'll share insights into how individuals are investing in the region and opening doors to long-term prosperity. This is Capital Living, where community, opportunity, and smart growth come together.
Woohoo! Thank you, thank you, Jonathan, for joining us. So Welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself before we get into it?
Sure, yeah. I mean, this opportunity to have this TV show, I thought I received a spam email. It was an email that was sent to me probably back in November, talking about American Dream TV. They do these type of lifestyle shows around the country, and this is the first time they were coming into the DMV area, and they were looking for a real estate professional to be the exclusive host of this 30-minute show. And it's not a reality show, so we don't have fake drama or anything like that. But it will air on channels like the Learning Channel, HGTV, and CNBC, and it's on the streaming platforms like Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. And it's a great way. What we do is we break the 30-minute show down into 6 5-minute segments, and we're looking for people, businesses, events that attract people to come live, work, and play in the DMV area. And Abera and Dr. Joe were one of the first to be featured on that first episode. So we had a great watch party with the premiere of it, and the next episode is coming out soon. So be on the lookout for the next watch party so you can come out and take a look at the next episode as well.
Thank you, thank you. So you wear many hats. So maybe we'll do a poll and see. So I'm going to tell you all the different things that Jonathan does in the area of real estate. And whichever one that you're most interested in, you can post it in the chat or unmute yourself and then we can talk to him about it. Jonathan is a realtor. He is a property manager. He just told you he's a TV show host. He's a broker. He is a landlord. And he also assists with rehab improvements for those who want to take their property from like a 3-2 to 4-3 or 6-4. He does all of that. So everything real estate you can count on Jonathan for. So based off of all these hats that he wears, what do you think we want to talk to him about today? What are you most interested in? Remember, this is a interactive session. This is our last session. So you have a say in what you want Jonathan to talk about. You want him to talk about being a realtor, property manager, TV show host, broker, landlord, and rehab improvement. Oh, wait a minute. You're popular with the rehab. Okay. um
So I also have a mortgage brokerage, and we're able to offer, all the different financing options for people that are rehabbing as well. So we have the hard money loans, we have the DSCR loans, we have renovation financing. So the benefit of working with someone like me is that because I'm also an investor, I was recognized by DC REIA as being the investor of the year back in 2014. I know exactly what you're doing, what your goals are, and can provide you with guidance and the right loan programs, the right properties to look for. So I bring that wealth of knowledge to anyone that I work with.
Thank you. Yes, and he's actually personally helping my son Izu. Remember where I told you guys about the property in Baltimore? So Jonathan is helping Izu to pick out the property that he's going to fix and rent to students at UMBC. He's at UMBC first year going into his second year. And we figure, why live in the dorm when you can purchase a property? So we're currently looking for property that he's gonna buy, and then Jonathan is helping him with that. So thank you. All right. So they want to okay, can you post your information when you get a chance? But most of the people I'm seeing here want to do rehabbing and then being a broker. So I'll ask you a question about the rehab. I know that you are assist. So this is kind of like bringing everything under one umbrella because you have one of my clients that you're helping. You help with property management, but then he's gone from doing property management where he now wants to rehab the property in DC. Can you tell us a little bit about that, the specifics of that rehab project, and then we will talk about the broker side of things as well.
Sure. So this property, the gentleman used to live in the property himself, but moved out, wanted to rent it. I helped him with placing tenants and all that, and been helping him with property management in that property now for close to 10 years. Most recent tenant is just moved out, and in looking at the subject matter that we featured in Dr. Joe on this last episode of Capital Living, Dr. Joe's strategy is finding properties in DC that are structured currently as like a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, or whatever, but has the layout that you can add additional bedrooms and then tailor it to the Section 8 program. So right now, we've been renting out his house for $3,250 a month. It is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. But now that the tenant has moved out, we are actually converting that property into a 6 bedroom, 4.5 bath. And in DC, in where this property is located, with the Section 8 program for a 6 bedroom property, they're paying about $7,750 a month currently for a 6 bedroom. So we're dramatically increasing what his monthly rent is going to be by converting the property to that. So yeah, I mean that's the story with that particular property.
How many bedrooms did you say it was right now?
Currently, it's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath,
So
and
three
once
bedroom, two bath, going to 6 bedroom, four bath,
4.5 baths.
four and a
Yes,
half bath. Okay, good. Good. And what's the current rent before the tenant moved out?
they were paying $3,250 currently in
Okay.
its current condition,
Mm-hmm.
and with Section 8. The 6 bedroom, they'll pay $7,750 a month.
Wow. So that's 7750 minus 3250. That's a $4,500 increase.
Yep.
And if I waited, sorry, my math is coming out, do it over 12 months, that's $54,000. And I think if you do the rate, isn't it times 10? That's a $540,000 increase. So, how much are you guys putting into the rehab and how long is it going to take?
The rehab is about 250,000. So
Okay.
with with Dr. Joe's program, he doesn't like to do additions or bump outs or whatever else. Really, what he looks at is there enough room in the basement that he can add additional bedrooms and put in, the egress windows and all that so they can be counted as official bedrooms. For this property, we are actually bumping up and bumping out. The owner just felt like he wanted to have uh, a wow figure when somebody walks in. They're going to be, they want to see the open floor plan. So we're taking down walls to have it all open with the kitchen and dining room and living room all on the main level there. Will all be open. And so we're adding an additional story up top where we're adding additional 2 bedrooms on the upper floor. And we are putting 1 bedroom in the basement, and we're bumping out about 10 feet as well. So, but the total renovation is going to be right around $250,000 to do all that.
Okay, so just my quick calculation, 250, sorry, how long did you say it was going to take?
Should be about 5 months to have everything completed.
Okay, let me just add in extra 6 months. So basically what we're saying is 6 months of not collecting rent, so 3250 times 6 months, 3250 times 6 months, that's 19,500 that they're losing in rent, plus $250,000 of rehab cost. And after all that is said and done, they are going to increase their rents $4,500. So that's an additional $54,000. So if we did $54,000 divided by 269,500, that is a 20% return on investment. That means that in the rule of 72, 72 divided by 20%, that means in 3.5 years, they would have doubled the money that they invested. Isn't that amazing? That in just 6 months of being patient and putting in funds into rehabbing a property, you can significantly increase the value that the rule of 72, you're able to double that money in just 3.5, 3.6, shy of, 4 years, that they will be able to double that money. So it sounds like this strategy um, that Antonio is implementing is the same strategy that Femi is implementing, that what's his name was just asking about, that Ashby was just asking about. So maybe one of the things, Jonathan, that we can look into is once the property is done, maybe we can do a bus tour for those who want to, come out there, take a look, maybe even have it on the show. So we have those who would
He's
be interested in coming out to take a look, see what
yeah,
it
he's
is that.
already asked for it to be featured on the show, so we're likely going to be filming it throughout the process, and then once it's done, an upcoming episode after the completion, so probably beginning of 2027, it'll be featured on the Capitol Living.
Awesome, awesome. And then there's a question here by Regina. Are you changing the footprint of the property to increase the bedrooms and bathrooms? I think that's what you kind of meant, like going
Yeah,
up and
so
then the
going,
bump
yeah,
out.
we're adding an additional floor. Where it's zoned in DC, they allow it to go to 40 feet. So, we're raising the roof up to go to the full 40 feet, allows us to get an additional floor. And that's where we're adding an additional two bedrooms, two baths two bedrooms, one bath on the additional floor. And then in the basement, we're going to be having an official bedroom as well. So that's where the additional three bedrooms are coming in. And he's bumping it out 10 feet as well, all the way from the basement up to that new third floor. So it's adding additional square footage. It's going to increase the value of his house tremendously as well. So, he's getting a return on his investment within a few years, and the value of his house is probably going to be doubling in those few years as well. So,
And what would the property tax increase be?
it's going to depend on what the city assesses it for and all that. But if the value doubles, then I think he's paying about actually, I don't know off the top of my head the amount that he's paying for the property taxes because that's escrowed in with his mortgage. He pays that. I don't pay that through the property management, but I would estimate probably will increase about $6,000 a year
Because I
for the
think
property
based off
tax.
of what Femi said with his property was going to increase to about $1 million fair market value when he's done. So I'm
Right.
suspecting that it's going to be the same thing here.
Yep.
That with the 6.4, probably the same area is going to be that. And on my
And we
end,
did, he took a loan out. I helped him with financing to get the money out for the renovation, and the property appraised, I think, for like 580 right now as it is. So again, within 3 years, that is going to likely double. So
yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then on my end, what I'm going to be working on with this client is, first of all, is this rehab going to be completed before year end? If it's going to be completed before year end, then we're looking at 2026 tax strategies to implement. So one of the things that I will be looking at is the $250,000 of rehab. Are we able to do cost segregation on that? So I'm going to be, checking with Jonathan, with Antonio. They're going to send me a list of the rehab expenses, and we're going to say whether we're able to segregate it between what's personal property, meaning properties, what you can move from the building and not cause a structural damage, and some of the appliances that are there, and then what's building, and then what's improvement. And then the ones that are FF&E, meaning personal property, we're able to depreciate over 5 to 7 years. meaning that we can do 100% depreciation in the first year. The next thing that we're going to try to overcome with that is, can he meet the real estate professional requirement? Don't remember, but I think, is he retired or is he still working? I don't remember. I know he's a
He's working.
yeah, okay. So we're gonna have to look at his income and see whether or not he meets the real estate professional requirement. Meaning, is he spending more time in real estate than at his regular job? And is he spending more than 750 hours in real estate? If he does meet those requirements, then we will be looking at cost segregation. If he does not meet those requirements, then it may not make sense to do cost segregation. We will just be doing regular depreciation, and hopefully he has enough expenses to offset this increase in income that he's going to be getting. All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Does anybody have any questions for Jonathan before we move on?
Yes, I have a quick question. What are some of the type of loans that you offer again as a mortgage broker? A loan.
Any type of loan. So anywhere from conventional with the renovation financing and all that to hard money, DSCR, which is just based on the cash flow of the property. We do portfolio loans, and we basically any type of financing you can think of, I have available.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Any final questions? Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan.
And if anybody has anything as far as what they think might be good to be featured on the show, certainly feel free to reach out. What's nice is, you get a full 5-minute segment, gives you the ability to talk about the business as well. So we feature different investments that are going on, like what we did with Dr. Joe. We feature different businesses like restaurants. We just did a segment on a vineyard, and they also do, wedding events and that kind of stuff there. And what's nice is, because you have a full 5 minutes to talk about it, you get the chance to tell the story behind it. They say facts tell, but stories sell. When you have a full 5 minutes to talk about it, it's not just, let me put your information out there, my phone number, call me. It gives you the ability to build that trust and, to build that camaraderie with the viewers. So if you know anybody that would be good to be featured on it, Barry had put my contact information in the chat. Certainly feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to discuss with them what the opportunity would be.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we are moving on to our next mystery guest. We have Sherman Ragland with us. Hi, Sherman. Hi, Sherman.
Hey, Vera. Good to see you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So see, confession time, because I'm very comfortable with Sherman and Jonathan, I can afford to tell the truth. I completely forgot that today was a mystery guest, and I reached out to them today. And all of a sudden, they were available. So this is what comes with having community. When you have the right community, we've known each other for over, 20 years?
Yeah.
Now we all started from the same group from DC area. It's good to surround yourself with the right people in the real estate industry, because real estate works. So thank you, Sherman. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
And I love that story though, Bear, because the fact you forgot means that when people ask you, well, who's the mystery guest tomorrow? You're like, I don't know. Surprise to me too.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So tell you a little bit about me. I guess I'm technically a third generation DMVer, as much as I hate that term, DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia. But, people used to brag all the time about being third generation Washingtonians. And so my grandmother moved to Washington, D.C. from a little town in Ohio called South Point, Ohio in 1948. And then my father, who grew up in Southern Ohio, went to the military, and he was relocated to Walter Reed in 1968. And we lived in D.C. for a short period of time. Then my parents bought their first house in Wheaton, Silver Spring. So I've been in the D.C. area since 1968. That's probably longer than most people have been alive, probably longer than many people's parents have been alive. And I love the DC area. I love the opportunities in the DC area, and I love the real estate market in the DC area. So that's sort of the lens through which I look. Went off to college, then was fortunate enough to get a full fellowship to the grad school of my choice, and I got my MBA from the Wharton School of Business in specifically real estate finance. and I took a job, excuse me, with a particular company. It's a Fortune 50 company, because they promised to relocate me back to DC. And that company, of course, was Xerox Realty, which owned 2,300 acres out in Loudoun County, Virginia, which today we know as Lansdowne. But when I started working on that project, it was basically farmland. And I remember we used to fly in from the airport in Stamford, Connecticut, and fly into the DC area, into Dulles. And for the last 10 minutes of the flight, it felt like it was nothing but farmland, corn and wheat, all this stuff blowing as that plane landed for the last 10 minutes flying over Western Fairfax and Eastern Loudoun, or coming in from Montgomery County / Frederick County. And it's just amazing to see how the entire DC area has just exploded, particularly over the last, I'd say 15, 20 years, ever since sort of the mortgage meltdown of 2008, I'd say 2008, 2009, 2010. And that was really, while every other city in America was seeing contraction because their industries were contracting, DC was actually exploding. And that was the start of the true renaissance. That's when Chef Jose Andres opened up his very first restaurant. And of course, now he owns like 40, 50 of them. And we really began to also see the turnaround in the real estate market during that period of time. And it was about 2001 that my son David was born. And of course, today David is a direct lender. He has direct sources into Wall Street and is able to sort of craft what he calls custom loans for investors and rehabbers, and newbie investors who need money through those connections. But really, I'd say about 2001, 2002 was really sort of the great awakening of the real estate market in DC. And that was about the time we started DC REIA, which went on to become the largest real estate investor association on the East Coast. And from DC REIA, we of course created Real Investors, mainly to teach people how to do real estate the right way, because there were, and quite frankly still are, a lot of charlatans in the get rich quick in real estate. And I'll teach you how to get rich quick in real estate. And Trump University isn't the only bogus group out there, or it wasn't the only bogus group out there teaching people. There's some new incantations of that sort of scammy nature of real estate investing and real estate coaching teaching. There's one in particular that bothers me a lot, but I'm not going to talk about them and take up your time to do that. But basically, at Real Investors, we teach people how to do real estate investing the right way through creating partnerships. A lot of newbie investors have things that they bring to the table that even they don't recognize. There's a movie out there. Some of you guys know the actor Vince Vaughn, and I think it was his breakout movie. I think it was called Swingers or something. And the line the guy had was, "Your money and you don't even know it." And for a lot of newbie investors, you really are money and you don't even know it. You've got certain amount of skills, you have a certain amount of knowledge about your local market that you don't give yourself credit for, and you have a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of enthusiasm. And that's very attractive to a more experienced investor when you learn how to channel that the correct way. And that's really sort of the start for most people's real estate investing, is partnering up with somebody who's more experienced. And at Real Investors, we really create that platform for the new novice investor to partner up with the more experienced investor, and everybody makes money, has a lot of fun, and creates a lot of good friendships, lasting friendships, as you pointed out, Avera, in the process. So anyway, that's our backstory. I'm the dean of the Real Investors Academy, and during COVID, we were told we had to shut our doors. At one point, we had a 10,000 square foot facility that we ran our offices out of one side and did our coaching training. And then on one day, literally, we were told by the Maryland government, you got to close your doors for 2 weeks so we can get a handle on COVID. And 2 weeks, of course, became 2 years. And we had to pivot hard into online. And as a result, probably 65 to 70% of our membership comes from around the country, online, versus being physically in the DC area, although we still get a good concentration of people every week, every month, every day coming from the DC area. But most of our members come from outside the DC area. And that caused us to do a number of different things, including shifting to an online format versus a brick and mortar format. But the biggest change, I think, it happened earlier this year, where we decided to give up the independent real estate brokerage. For years, we had a local real estate brick and mortar real estate company to work with investors, and we gave that up about 2 months ago in favor of affiliating with a nationwide brokerage firm And we think we picked right. We have decided after a long, exhaustive study to affiliate with Real Brokerage. And of course, the big news was 2 weeks ago, Real Brokerage bought Remax, the largest and by far the most productive real estate brokerage firm in America. They bought Remax for like $800 million, some ridiculous amount of money. And so now we have the ability to extend what we teach in the classroom to actually doing deals in the field. And we have the ability to provide real estate agents who are knowledgeable about how to work with investors and vice versa, not only across the entire United States, but everywhere that Remax was, which includes overseas and internationally. And I'm also proud of the fact that we are the official real estate investing arm and training. We just got approved as one of the regional offices for Real Brokerage. And I'm very pleased with the fact that we are the sort of official trainer of real estate agents inside the Real Remax network. And you'll be hearing more and more stuff about that. We also got some new logos rolling out. We are real investors of Real Brokerage, or soon to be real investors of Real Remax Group. But basically, we teach, I used to say locally in the DC area, now it's nationwide and now internationally. We teach new investors how to work with agents. We teach agents how to work with investors, and we start fundamentally with the single biggest place to find motivated sellers and deals on the planet. And that, of course, is the multiple listing service, and teaching people how to get deals out of the MLS by working with the right kind of agents and forming the right kind of teams. So probably longer than you wanted me to go, but that's our story. And I'm happy to answer any questions for anybody who
Thank you, thank you,
may have.
thank you, Sherman. So let's do it this way. So Sherman, as you can see, he's doing a lot. See, my friends do a lot in real estate, and that's why it's like I said, you can find your space in real estate. That's why I love real estate. You can find your space. So Sherman is a broker. He's a trainer. He's an investor. He has a son who has a hard money lending. You know, he does a lot of things. What are you most interested in? What do you want Sherman to talk about? Do you want him to talk about the training? Do you want him to talk about the brokerage? Do you want to talk about how investors can work with realtors and vice versa? Do you want him to talk about the current state of, the real estate market in the DMV area? What do you want to hear for these last 12 minutes?
Bear, just quick 30 seconds. The two
Mhm.
things on the investing side, and I always tell my students, I do what I teach and I teach what I do. So I'm active in the market every single day. The two things that I'm most excited about from the investor standpoint is I formed a partnership with my youngest son, David, called Loving Care Homes. And we are actively buying single family houses and converting them into residential assisted living and renting them out on long-term leases to residential assisted living operators. We're on our third house now. We've raised a $500,000 fund, getting ready to raise a $5 million fund, only working with accredited investors so that we can be buying 3 and 4 houses at a time. The second thing I'm really excited about, and I never thought I'd say this, but it's probably about time. We're actively partnering with our students to buy houses in DC proper. Right now, we've got 3 houses under contract in Petworth, and we're buying these houses generally for about $500,000. We got one 510, excuse me. It was a short sale, so we had to give the homeowner some cash to get out of the house. But we're buying these houses for roughly about 500 to 550, and we're putting about 300,000 into them and turning around and reselling them for 1.2 million. So if anybody's interested in specifically sort of either the assisted living angle or the $1 million rehab business, be more than happy to talk at any level of length or any detail that you want me to.
All right, so Cami said she's interested in the transitional housing. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? I know was it Kishelle that I met?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah. In fact,
that
Kishelle is who I'm partnering with on a couple of the DC houses. She actually lives in DC, up in the Petworth area, and she literally every day is finding a new house. Some of which she moved her license over to our brokerage. Some of which she's just selling to other people, and a couple of them we're actually partnering on. Transitional housing is sort of a broad category, and we're really in the niched space of assisted living for a couple different reasons. In assisted living, which in Maryland specifically is highly regulated, the local community groups cannot shut you down. If I said, hey, I want to open up a halfway house for teens coming out of prison, trust me, the NIMBYs in the neighborhood would have me shut down before I put the first bed in place. On residential assisted living, because it is regulated and there's a state agency that issues licenses to operators, local housing groups, local community associations can sort of complain, but they really have no power whatsoever to keep us from opening up. If the state is regulating it, the state supersedes the county and supersedes the city. In addition to which, who doesn't love old people? Unfortunately, not everybody loves teenagers, not everybody loves vets, but everybody loves old people. So you tend to have fewer issues. And then finally, I would say we're not the actual operator. There was a point in time I thought I wanted to become an operator, and I went through the training to get licensed as an operator, and I quickly realized I don't want to be near anybody's 90-year-old mother. But there are a lot of people who come out of the healthcare professions who love taking care of somebody's 90-year-old mother, but they don't understand anything about real estate. And it was through the process of teaching the licensing class at our facility that I suddenly realized, hey, there's a huge opportunity for investors not to take care of somebody's 90-year-old parent, but to do all of the real estate stuff necessary for operators to be able to operate. So not only is what I'm doing, quote unquote, hyper niched, I'm only focused on 5 zip codes because that's where my operators want to be. So transitional housing is veterans housing, it's halfway houses. Technically, one could say assisted living is also in that category. But each one of those niches in the transitional business has its way of getting money. Some of it comes from government, federal government grants. Some of it comes from state grants. Some of it comes from county grants. And some of it is private pay. My customers all prefer private pay. Secondarily, most of my customers want to enter into long-term leases. So our standard lease when we turn a house into assisted living is a 15-year lease. And as this group knows, Abir, because you've trained them well, generally speaking, in most metropolitan areas, but particularly the DC area, a house is going to double in value every 15 years. So by the time the lease expires, that house will have gone from a $500,000 house to $1 million house. And in that lease, which is generally a double net or triple net, meaning which language from the commercial world, that means that the tenant pays for everything. So we fix up the house, we turn over the house, we assist them in getting their permits, but they have to get their permits on their own. And by the time that lease is over in 15 years, nobody's called me for nothing. And that house has doubled in value. So when they hand me back the keys, I gave them a $500,000 house. They're giving me back $1 million house. And in the meantime, in the particular case of assisted living, we're typically charging $1,000 per bedroom, which means on an 8-bedroom house, we were making $8,000 a month, which is at least double, if not triple, what you would be able to get in the Section 8 program. So it's a very niche-y, very lucrative. And like I said, I'm only focused on 5 zip codes. People said to me, well, Sherman, aren't you afraid of competition? As I said to David, my goal was to get to get to 10 houses. We're now on our 3rd house, and the goal is to get 7 more in the next couple of years. And then, truthfully, I'm retired. I'm retired off the cash flow, but he gets the properties at the end of 15 years. And at the end of 15 years, if the market demand is still there, which I think it will be, he can decide if he wants to take those 10 houses and kick out the operators and go pay somebody $500,000 a year to run the business and get into the business himself. In our niche, in our market, in the houses we go after, the reason why the operators pay me $1,000 a month is because they're generating $10,000 a month. And so unlike other forms of real estate, and I've done it all, right? I've done commercial, I've done multifamily. In almost any other kind of real estate, with the exception of, commercial, the tenant looks at you as an expense. When I owned an apartment building, I was an expense. In this world, the tenant looks at me as their ability to make 10 grand because I happen to have a house that is properly rehabbed, has sprinkler system, has all ADA compliance, has done everything according to code, and they don't have to put up $500,000, or if they're able to work out a deal with Jonathan gets them a mortgage, they're still going to have to put up $100,000 to buy it and still have to put up a couple $100,000 to fix it up. They don't have to give me anything other than first month's rent and a security deposit. So they can be up and running in one of our facilities for basically less than $20,000 versus $200,000. And given the fact that our operators, who are our customers, are overwhelmingly women of color from African nations or the Caribbean, who have spent their whole entire life in healthcare and loving on people, but don't know a whole lot about real estate, and for the most part don't have an extra 200K laying around or in a bank account or buried, in a tin can in the backyard. For many of them, the only way they're going to be able to open up their first business and go in business and get the second house, third house, fourth house, etc., is to have somebody like me come along who understands their needs, understands the value proposition, and understands how to take basically a 4-bedroom house and turn it into an 8-bedroom house and make sure the bedrooms are big enough that they can get 2 occupants per bedroom, not 1 occupant per bedroom, so they can make 10 grand per bedroom per month versus 5 grand per bedroom per month. They need somebody like me to come along and make that magic happen on the real estate side, so they can make the magic happen for 15 years on the operation side. And each party is playing to their strengths rather than playing to their weaknesses. So anyway, I could go on and on and on about residential assisted living in this business model, but it is different from transitional housing from the standpoint of residential assisted living is a niche within transitional housing. There are lots of types of transitional housing, but not every kind of transitional housing can you get a 15-year lease. Can you have the neighbors love you rather than fight you? And can you have a complete wait list of people waiting to get into your property? And that is what this particular niche does for us inside of the state of Maryland, because again, it's regulated by the state. Not every state regulates assisted living the way Maryland does. So the opportunity may or may not be there in other places. Having said that, however, when you look at statistically who needs assisted living, and you look at statistically where the United States of America is, we probably have a 30-year undersupply of housing for the assisted living category. And if you're going to go into real estate, you might as well go into an area of real estate that's undersupplied, not oversupplied.
All right, we have 3 more questions. It is 3:57, so if you have to go, thank you. See you later. I will get back to you guys about our annuity, but we will keep going till we answer all these questions, because I think these questions are important. I always love talking to Sherman. I always love talking to people like Jonathan. Like, oh my God, we should have done this as a 2-hour meeting. I think both of you need 1 hour each. I'm sorry for only giving you 15 minutes. Okay.
No worries.
That's because I got taxes to review after this. See, I have people.
Well, hey, if they want to stick around, just make me and Jonathan host, and we'll just keep on talking until one or both of us drops dead. We'll just keep going. You know us.
All right. So the next question: how has the DMV market changed since your peak? What's the new market, and what's keeping DC from being like Baltimore?
So I'll take the first crack at that. I don't know if Jonathan wants to weigh in. I once had a mentor say to me, when I went from Prince George's County up to Baltimore, because there was a period of time I did stuff in Baltimore, and Baltimore's kind of like a boat. The happiest day of your life is getting a deal in Baltimore, and the second happiest is getting the hell out of Baltimore. At least it was for me.
Don't say that. We're trying to get a property at UMBC.
Listen, my first rehab in Baltimore, down the street from Johns Hopkins University, I made $96,000 on it, and that was back in 2020. Excuse me, that was back in 2003 when $96,000 was serious money. To some degree, I wish to God I had not made that kind of money, because I expected every deal in Baltimore to turn out that way, and it didn't. I did okay, but there was a period of time where in Baltimore, especially during COVID, you couldn't collect rent, you couldn't evict tenants, and you still had to pay your mortgage. And that just put a very sour taste in my mouth, unfortunately. But in any event, back to what I was saying. When I went to Baltimore, I had a very good friend that said, Sherman, don't expect Baltimore to behave like DC. DC is a city of wealth with pockets of poverty, and Baltimore is a city of poverty with pockets of wealth. And over time, I developed my 5 rules for Baltimore, which I'll be happy to share at the very end if somebody reminds me. I don't want to monopolize the time. But yeah, Baltimore is the place where if you come out of a DC and go to Baltimore, everything looks dirt cheap, and you're going to wind up coming home broke with your hat in hand. On the other hand, if you're from Baltimore, or you're from a city like a Baltimore, like a Detroit or Philly, those kinds of cities cause you to be way more creative in your buying, way more creative in your investing, and way more creative in what you do versus a DC, where pretty much anything in DC, if you buy it and own it long enough, it's going to continue to go up in value. We got houses we're buying in Petworth right now. We're paying $500,000, and the houses 2 doors over, 3 doors over that are appraising today for $800,000 are properties that people bought for, $200,000 less than 10 years ago. So there's a very interesting phenomena happening in DC right now that is not happening in Baltimore. And I got data to back it up. Jonathan, being a real estate broker, has data to back it up because we got access to the MLS. What's happening in DC right now is families, many of whom came to DC during that sort of 2010, 2008, 2009, 2010, when the rest of the country was in a recession and nobody else was hiring, but the federal government and institutions and agencies inside of DC were hiring, and they were particularly hiring people with college degrees. So if you graduated college 2009, 2010, 2011, you had a very difficult time finding a job that would take advantage of that college degree unless you were coming to Washington, DC. And historically, you'd come to DC, you'd share an apartment or share a house, you'd get a condo or share a condo. And then the first time you got married, the condo worked fine. But the first time you had a baby, you were sort of like tight on space. And then the second baby came along and you were suddenly moving to the suburbs. You were moving to Silver Spring, you're moving out to Bowie, moving to Northern Virginia, blah, 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 blah. That ain't happening anymore. The quality of schools has gotten so good. DC has a long history of charter schools, think private schools. And so what's happening is people are having children and they're saying, I'm not moving to Tacoma Park. I'm not moving to Bowie or Montgomery County. I'm going to stay right here in DC. And when you have a family where the average age of husband and wife or partners or whatever is in the late 30s, early 40s, and they have a household income of $350,000, $380,000, maybe even $400,000, Jonathan can tell you, somebody's got a household income of $400,000 can buy $1 million house. And they want to buy $1 million houses and they want to stay in DC and they want to raise their children in DC. And that is a phenomena that we didn't see in the Washington, DC market until roughly about the last 15, 20 years. Yeah, certainly you saw, certain neighborhoods like Georgetown and Upper Northwest, but literally all over DC. We were looking at a property and somebody said, I said, well, where's the property located? I said, well, it's 2 blocks down from Kennedy Street. And in my mind, I'm like, Kennedy Street, that's where the drug dealers are killing each other, right? Like, when was the last time you were in DC, Sherman? And Kennedy Street is now all these very shishi, boutique-y, and local restaurants. There's a local pizza joint that everybody goes to. In all of the neighborhoods, it's sort of Petworth extended. All the neighborhoods around Kennedy Street are now flourishing, and houses, like I said, have gone from 300, 400,000 a few years ago to 800, 900, $1 million. And now you're starting to see $1.2 million be sort of the norm along certain streets, Illinois Avenue, Jefferson Street, and now coming up and down 7th and 8th Street. And so it is not uncommon to see people intentionally moving up into $1 million houses in Washington, D.C. to raise their kids. And that was something that DC was very popular on in the 1950s, 1960s, right up until the 1968 riots. And then after the 1968 riots, everybody wanted to get the hell out of DC and the suburbs exploded. Now, with $4.50 a gallon gas, with a pretty decent metro system and great schools, and low crime, people want to be in DC and they want to stay in DC and they want to move up in DC. So, and I get it. Years ago, before I married my wife, I lived in Old Town Alexandria. I love city living. Park the car, leave it alone. And only get out the car when you got to go someplace long distance that you can't get there by public transit. But DC is starting to look like, and people predicted this for years, and it's finally happening. DC is starting to look like London. DC is starting to look like Munich. It's starting to look like any other capital city. And for years, DC didn't look like it. A lot of people thought, well, the capital of America is New York, right? Because that's where people move and don't want to move out. No, the capital is DC, but DC did not look or function like a capital city. In most places outside the United States of America, the most expensive real estate is always the capital city. And then it's almost like a bullseye. It's like, okay, the most expensive is like ground zero, and then you draw one ring and another ring and another ring. And for years in the DC area, that wasn't true. Well, now it's starting to become true. And I think that creates a really exciting opportunity for anybody who's in the DMV who wants to be rehabbing either in the city or rehabbing in the close-in suburbs, because Tacoma Park is exploding, Silver Spring is exploding, Wheaton, Maryland, where my family bought their first house. My dad and mom bought their first house for $8,000 in 1968. That same house is worth $350,000 today. I mean, it's just phenomenal what's happening in and around Washington. Again, I can't speak for other cities. I got family in Atlanta. Atlanta's experiencing a similar kind of thing. Austin, Texas. But wherever you are in the country, if you can find a market like that, now certainly you can make money in a Detroit, you can make money in a Philly, you can make money in a Baltimore. But if you're in and around New York, don't go to Philly. If you're in and around DC, don't go to Baltimore. All right. Or if you do go to Baltimore, cut your teeth in Baltimore and come back to DC, because you're going to find that DC is way more forgiving than a Baltimore. You buy the wrong house in Baltimore, you're as likely to lose money as to make money. And so if you're going to go into a Baltimore because you feel like that's a cheaper place, then for goodness sake, get yourself a local mentor, get yourself a local person you can look over their shoulder, and avoid the mistakes that outsiders usually make when they go into a community that they don't understand.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Jonathan, this is for you. Can assisted living real estate or residential purchase, can they be done via an SBA loan?
SBA requires that it's owner occupied, essentially. So they have to be operating 90% of the property. So if the operator is going to be running their business in the house themselves, then it's possible. But what Sherman is talking about, he's the one that's buying the house, but then he has somebody else that's actually coming to him to rent it that's going to be operating the business. So in his model, he wouldn't be able to. But if you're looking to buy the property to run the business there yourself, then that is a possibility.
Very good point. And in fact, there was an article in one of the Montgomery County papers about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, about this minority-owned business that had gotten an SBA loan in Montgomery County to buy an open up an assisted living. And when I read the article, I immediately handed it to my son David and said, "You need to be able to offer something like this." What was amazing was the real estate itself was about 700,000, and they were able to get an SBA loan where the SBA loan gave them 90% financing on the sticks and bricks, but then turned around and gave them another 150,000 in startup capital.
Yeah, operating costs.
Yeah. And so they were able to cover pretty much 100% of going into business. But Jonathan's absolutely correct. That's a loan that's available to operators, not available to investors like us or like me. However, one of the things about my business model is I will generally not rent a property that we've converted into assisted living to a first-time operator. I don't want to deal with first-time operators because they have not proven to themselves they know what they're doing, and they haven't proven to themselves they really want to be in this business. So if I buy a house for $500,000 and then proceed to put another $100,000 into it, the last thing in the world I want is somebody handing me back the keys 6 months later going, "This is way harder than I thought." So what we did was Cashel, who was a real estate agent who really got hot and heavy into this business, and helped us find 2 or 3 properties. She moved her license over to Real Investors, and her niche is she specializes, amongst other things, in assisted living property, excuse me. So anytime we get a first-time operator, somebody who's just gone through the licensing class in Maryland and they want to open up and they do not have a facility, we generally push them in the direction of buying their first house. And so they're going to buy typically a 3-bedroom house, maybe convert the garage, turn it into a 5-bedroom house, and it's going to produce a certain amount of income, but they're going to be, owner operator, and they're going to be probably in that facility themselves 5, 6, 7 days a week. What we generally see is that the first time operator feels an overwhelming, compelling need to own the sticks and bricks, and we don't try to fight that. So Cashel helps them find the house. David helps them with the SBA financing because there's a handful of lenders that specialize in SBA financing. once they get the first facility up and running using SBA funding, and not all of them use SBA funding, some of them use traditional bank funding, et cetera. But once they're up and running, the next thing they quickly realize is that the only way they're going to be able to hire a manager to manage their facilities and pay them what they want is they got to go out and get 2 more houses. And so generally speaking, within 6 months of being up and running, they're already looking for their second house. Well, who are they going to call first? Hopefully the person who helped them get their first house. And now when they do call us back, they've got 6 months, 7 months, a year's worth of experience. And now we will deal with them on the rental side. But yeah, the answer is yes, you can use SBA funding. You may want to Google that article. Like I said, it was a Montgomery County article. And Jonathan, you know the alphabet soup better than I do. I don't know if it was the 7J or the 5A or whatever, but you can get 90% financing from the SBA for the sticks and bricks. And you can also get money to actually operate it. And you can probably get the same kind of deal if you're doing transitional housing. And the only catch is you have to be the operator. You can't just be a passive investor. But if you want to be an operator, and Jonathan, by the way, one of the reasons why I took a look at assisted living is because Jonathan had a client a long time ago who owned some assisted living, and was his son became a professional basketball player or something, got drafted in the NBA or something. And I remember talking to you about the fact that this guy was making a lot of money. Was it assisted living or was it some other kind of treatment?
He works with developmental disabilities.
There you go.
Yeah, his son,
he was an operator, right? He operated facilities.
Yeah, I helped him find the properties. So he got into trouble because he bought properties before he got his license,
Oh,
thinking that the process was going to be very quick. It took him 4 years to get his license approved. And meanwhile, he bought all these properties to put all these clients in, and
gotcha.
ended up losing them to foreclosure. But then once he got his license, he had to figure out ways to buy properties with a foreclosure on his credit report. So I had to come up with all different creative ways, doing lease options and seller financing and all different options with him. And,
hey, look, where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. So our last question from Cammie. I'm in the process of looking for a DSCR loan. Me too, Cammie. For my recent rehab, does the triple net lease affect those rates and insurance? She's a newbie. Jonathan, should she reach out to you or should she go to David? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if David does DSCR as well.
He does. He does. He actually did our last assisted living property, and was able to get us a decent that and running through that gauntlet. Oh my God! But our monthly payment is $3,800, and our monthly income is $10,000. So it was worth it.
Absolutely,
it was worth it.
So I mean, the short answer of it is typically in a triple net, your rent is going to be lower because the person also has to then pay the property taxes, the homeowner's insurance, all that kind of stuff. So the loan itself is based on the cash flow of the property. So they're going to be looking at the rents that's being paid, and then the terms of the loan come based off the income of the property. But yeah, I mean, either David, myself, any lender that does those types of loan, you can reach out to them, tell them the specifics of the deal that you're looking at, and they can help you determine the terms that you can qualify for on them.
Alrighty, thank you, guys. Thank you for this. We need to do this more often. I know I'm usually tired because now it's like summertime, but thank you guys for coming on. Thank you, Anthony, for being here in the beginning to give us the presentation for annuities. I hope you guys found the annual business meeting 2026 very rewarding and informative. And if you have not yet scheduled your appointment yet, please do so that we can look at your specific situation. So other than that, bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you, Jonathan.